Tonight's guest is one of Britain's most celebrated journalists and documentary filmmakers.
Jon Ronson is an award-winning author who's written best-selling books on psychopaths, cyberbullies and terrorists. His books have been turned into major Hollywood movies starring George Clooney, Ewan McGregor and Michael Fassbender.
Coca-Cola, lipstick ring, go dance all night, kiss me, just kiss me Nephrodite.
This is your most likable song ever?
Yeah.
People will love it.
And recently, he's been embedded in the world of porn.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the wonderful Jon Ronson! Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I've been listening to your podcast, The Butterfly Effect. You've immersed yourself in the world of porn.
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, I mean, it was amazing. I should probably explain, like, the origin story of, like, why I got into it. I was at a church school in New Orleans doing a different story.
It's a fascinating start.
And there was this girl, they had this sort of confessional circle where the kids have to kind of confess their most shameful secrets. And one of them was this girl called Dakota, and her shameful secret, she said, was that she watched Pornhub. So afterwards, I said to her, just out of curiosity, I said, like, did you ever get, like, so into it that you would know, like you'd learn their names? And she said, no, I never learnt their names. She said, it's like when you kill a deer, you don't name it because then you can't eat it. And I kept thinking, and like, she was being, like, self-aware. She understood what she was saying, but what she was basically saying there was, I can't be curious about the lives of porn people, because if I am curious about them, it will make me feel bad about myself.
About your own habits?
Yeah, about her own, she had to dehumanise them. And so I became very curious, like I knew nothing about the lives of porn people, so I became curious, and
And were you a user of porn before this? Or?
I'm not really a particularly big porn.
So you weren't into porn, and then you suddenly found yourself... Because you've been on sets.
I've been on the set of Bad Babysitters Volume 2.
Yeah.
Stepdaughter Cheerleader Orgy.
There's a lot going on there, isn't
Yeah.
And this isn't a lie. We've got a photo of you on set.
Yeah,
I can see. There you go, that's you. I mean, you've looked less dodgy.
That was a porn set called Public Disgrace.
Right.
So I got invited onto that set. My big memory of that night was how long it took. Like, I was still there at 2 o'clock in the morning. It just dragged on, and I was just sitting there thinking, please ejaculate so I can go home, go to sleep.
Did you think that or shout it?
I thought it, and then I thought, God, I'm like a million women before me.
That would have been so great if she leant over and went, honey, tell me about it. What did you learn, though?
What I discovered very quickly was that I was wondering, like, what are people in porn, like, what are they concerned about?
Yes.
What are their concerns? And I started reading, like, blogs by porn people, and it seemed that, like, many of them were all concerned about the very same specific thing, which was a man called Fabian. Like, and I kept saying, like, that Fabian. And it turns out that Fabian is basically the man behind Pornhub. And
he revolutionised porn.
Yeah, he had the idea to basically give the world, you know, YouTube for porn. And overnight, for people who don't know, Pornhub is like a kind of repository of pirated content. So fans upload pirated porn onto Pornhub. And so, overnight, this massive flow of money went from the entire porn community in the San Fernando Valley into Fabian's pocket.
Well, that's one of the things that fascinated me in your podcast, that Fabian got a bank loan to start Pornhub.
Yes.
And...
Fabian, you're right, Fabian got a $362 million bank loan to... And women in porn find it very hard to get, like, business checking accounts.
And there's something so... horrific about the fact that a bank manager will go, no, and then go home.
Yeah.
and watch it.
Absolutely go home and watch it.
No, do you know what I mean?
No, of course. I mean, it's true. Fabian got so rich and porn performers got so poor that they had to go into escorting and you know, many other extraordinary consequences.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one of the consequences.
I would love you to tell me one of the consequences, yeah. I
discovered this on the set of Stepdaughter Cheerleader Orgy.
Yeah.
It was quite... it was... I had quite an epiphany on that set. The director, Mike Quasar, said to me, you know, I never used to make films with titles like Stepdaughter Cheerleader Orgy. He was kind of a veteran, he'd been around since the 90s. So I said, so what do the films used to be called? And he said, well, the very first film I ever shot was called Women of Influence. And he said the reason why, like, these days they're called Stepdaughter Cheerleader Orgy is because it's like a kind of arms race of search engine optimization.
Right.
They discover what the most searched for terms are.
And then put as many of them in the title.
Yeah, and then make a film that's kind of geared around those terms. So, which in a way sounds smart.
Yeah.
But I said to Mike, so are there, like, any porn women who fall through the net and can't get work because they don't fit into any particular search term? And he said, yeah, if you're like 25 years old in porn now, you're unemployable.
Really?
Because you're too old to be a teen.
Right.
You're too young to be a MILF. You're in like this sort of hinterland between teen and MILF, like sort of fallow years between teen and MILF.
The thing that I didn't know about was custom porn. So I was oblivious to this, but you can now contact a porn person and tell them what you want. And it turns out people want bizarre things.
Yeah. When I actually learnt about this also on the set of Stepdaughter Cheerleader Orgy.
I mean, what an afternoon you had.
It was quite a day. It's exactly how you described it. If you want to see a porn film that's so weird nobody would ever think to make it, you can now commission it just for you.
Yeah.
You write the scripts, choose the camera angles, choose the performers. And when I heard about that, I thought, this is extraordinary, because what a window. Like, as a writer, you always try to get an insight into people's souls, into their inner lives.
Yeah.
And I thought, what an amazing way to do that.
And what kind of custom films?
Well, my favourite one that I came across was Stamps Man. This is
instant eroticism.
Right. This is a man who he sent a book of very expensive stamps to a porn star in the Valley, and his...
Do you reckon it was Prince Philip?
Basically what he wanted was for porn performers to destroy his valuable stamp collection by both, like, stepping on it with their high heels and then throwing it into the fire. And Stamps Man became like a sort of legend in porn circles, because he had 10 books of stamps and he would send them to, like, different customs producers.
Wow.
I said to one of them, I met a porn star one time, I said to her, like, have you ever had a Norwegian man send you a book of stamps to destroy? And she looked at me and she went, are you Stamps Man?
And did you think about running with it for a second? Do you know what I mean?
What would your custom porn film be?
What would my custom porn be? I don't know. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Did you think about that? If I'm honest, my brain instantly went straight to Anfield. I'm a Liverpool fan.
OK.
So I was imagining me scoring an overhead kick.
Right.
And then being substituted at the 88th minute, the crowd sort of cheering, and then I go into a big bath and it's full of lots of attractive girls.
Oh, OK.
And they show their sex appreciation for my goal. Or something like that, do you know what I mean? Just... How about you?
Mine is more modest than that.
OK. I shouldn't have gone first. That's what the girl said. Go on.
Mine is basically a porn star telling me that it's absolutely fine for me to have an early night. I don't... and give me permission to basically go to bed at 9. That's all I want. No.
And does she watch you sleep, or...?
No, I say, look, I know it's only 10 to 9, but I'm really sleepy.
Yeah. She's like, oh, can I get
Is it okay? Like, I know,
yeah.
like, I should stay up a bit later, but is it okay for me to get an early night? And she says, it's fine.
Oh. And your latest project is The Last Days of August.
Yeah.
Which is, it basically combines, you know, two of your kind of interests of public shaming and pornography.
Yes. Very famous porn star called August Ames died. She's 23 years old. She died the day that she'd been piled in on Twitter for tweeting something that came over as homophobic. So Twitter piled in on her. Twitter did what Twitter does, which is, you know...
Yeah.
And later that night, she went out. She told her husband Kevin that she was going tanning, and she was found dead in a park of suicide. But it was dizzying. I mean, it was dizzying in terms of I had to figure out why August died. I mean, you know, which meant probing the lives of the people around her.
Right, OK. So it's a real analysis into what happens to someone's soul when they're in that.
Yeah, and it was really hard. Because I never want to attack people in my stories.
Yeah.
I always want to be, like, empathetic. You know, I mean, my philosophy when it comes to these stories is that, you know, everybody's damaged, you know.
Yes.
We're all a mess. This is why I hate Twitter, because on Twitter... Twitter's a stage for constant artificial high drama, where everybody's either a magnificent hero or a sickening villain.
Yeah.
And some people deal with that really well. Some people are very good in adversarial situations, but then other people aren't. So, as a consequence, we as a nation are judging people on this kind of weird... like, how well do they deal in an adversarial situation? It's basically how people are judged in prison. Right? Yeah. But it's how we judge people on Question Time, or Have I Got News for You? And it's just a weird... it's a weird...
It's really interesting. We look at someone like Piers Morgan, the way that he has turned the news into just bellowing at someone first thing in the morning. And it's just... There's nothing English about that. Like, nobody wakes up and goes, "Oi!"
Yeah.
And everyone wakes up, "Oi." Give me 10 minutes and I'll get angry. Yeah. You know?
Piers Morgan just blocked me on Twitter a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yes. For saying, you know, that he suffers from the tyranny, like Katie Hopkins, he suffers from the tyranny of feeling that he has to have an opinion about everything.
Yes.
I don't think you need to have an opinion about it.
But he's a gun for hire, isn't he? It's just like, OK, what's the big story? How can I attach my brand to it, push up my brand a bit, pretend to be angry about something I'm not really angry about, cut to Susanna going, "Oh, I don't know, what's he doing?" On and on and on, this pantomime of bullshit.
I know.
That's what it should be called, pantomime of bullshit. Instead of Good Morning Britain. Hello, welcome to pantomime of bullshit. Now, the other thing I love about you, I only found this out recently, I didn't know you'd been UFO hunting.
Yeah.
I've been UFO hunting.
Have you?
I went with my mum.
Oh, really? Did you see any?
We didn't see any, but we learned...
You know why that is?
Why?
Because they don't exist. Yeah, I went UFO hunting with Robbie Williams.
Which is a lot better than my mum. What was it like going UFO hunting with Robbie Williams?
It was great.
And where did you go?
Well, I flew to Los Angeles. He'd rented a private plane for the day.
Really?
Yes. And I could sense he had a bit of buyer's remorse. He was feeling a little bit guilty about it. And we all pulled up at the plane. And there was a woman standing there, and she said, "Mr. Williams' friends, welcome to your plane. This is your plane for the day." She said, "What I want to tell you is that Snoop Dogg uses this plane a lot."
Wow.
She said, "What I'm saying is you can do anything." And we all kind of looked at each other like... and Rob's friend Brandon said, "Well, can we stand up as the plane lands?" That was the only...
In fairness, I imagine Snoop couldn't do that. And are you still pals with him?
Yeah, still see Rob.
When was the last time you saw him?
A couple of months ago, I was in...
do you ever do normal things with him, or...?
Yeah, at breakfast. I was in... I was at a hotel in Los Angeles, and I was working. I was, like, writing in the lobby, and I heard this voice go, John. I sort of ignored it and carried on. And it went, John. And I sort of looked up, and it was Rob, and he was with his kids.
Oh, nice.
And he said, come and have breakfast. So we had breakfast. We had this lovely breakfast. It was, like, really lovely to see him. He's a really nice guy. You know, the first time I met him in the flesh was right here.
Yeah.
And the very first thing he did was... I said I had a sore throat, and he immediately went off and found some Strepsils for me. So that was nice. So anyway, so we're having this breakfast, very fancy breakfast. And at the end of the breakfast, Rob, oh, John, it was so nice to see you. And then, like, stood up with his kids and left, and left me to pay the bill. So I sort of paid the bill, and then...
So Robert Williams owes you money?
Well, a couple of months later, I got an email from Rob saying, John, I'm in Dresden. Did I contribute to that breakfast? And I went, no, it's fine, but don't worry about it. Like, it's fine, it's fine. And, oh, my God, I'm so ashamed. And I just love the idea of, like, him sitting on a bus in Dresden, suddenly just having that sort of intrusive memory of that. He walked off without... He'd forgotten to pay, and he was, like, so embarrassed about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what's next for you?
I'm going to write a new book. I write films as well, so I've just written a film.
You fascinate me. You strike me as somebody that is a bit of a workaholic.
Yeah, I worked 7 days a week. I worked 365 days last year, and it definitely was a mistake. It definitely I overdid it. So I'm learning to not work so hard anymore.
I've got an idea. You and me, we book into a hotel. I dress up however you want, and I put you to bed.
Oh.
Is that nice? The offer's there. Absolutely fascinating. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. John's on tour. There's many podcasts. Check him out. He's absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Jon Ronson! That's terrific. Thanks, Stuart.